Yo, what's up guys? It's Kin. I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be doing a review on my Convert 80 Plus that I bought just about a year ago. It's actually been about a year and 1 month, and I was going to do this video last month, but I got caught up with some other stuff and kind of put it to the side. But I figure it's time I do it. I have a good amount of experience using it throughout the past year. And there's definitely some things that I learned throughout using it. Alright, so this is the unit itself. I have it in a rack with my other interface and some other stuff. First on the left here, you got your sample rate selection, right? So you got 44.1, 48, you go to 96, 192. And then over here to the right, we got the calibration. We got minus 14, minus 16, minus 18, which is basically a form of headroom until you reach 0 decibels. And then you have two analog input options. You have input 1, input 2. So this is actually really good if you want to compare mastering chains or mixing chains. I usually just stick with one input. Next we got clip guard, which is basically it lets the DAW, it basically makes the DAW ignore any overs. If you go over 0 dB and clip, it won't show it in the DAW. It doesn't do anything to the sound. It's not a limiter. It doesn't touch the sound at all. It just does some, I guess, code thing. I guess it just does some coding in the zeros and ones. Then you got peak, hold, reset. So basically, these two kind of work together. So you can see my meter as I'm talking into my mic. My mic should be a little closer, actually. You can zoom the meter. So if you click this, it's zoomed in. So once I'm talking into my mic, now you're going to see that it's getting a little bit closer. I don't know if you guys can see this, but when you're zoomed out, you have to pay attention to the numbers on top, and then it goes to 0. When you're zoomed in, you pay attention to the numbers in the middle, and then those go up to 0. So that's basically the difference of being zoomed in versus zoomed out. Obviously right now, you're not really seeing the level because it's probably not that loud, but if I zoom out, you can see that it's around like -14, -10. If I zoom in, you don't see it because when you zoom in, it starts at -10. So that's why you probably can't see anything right now. I'm going to just zoom out. If you have this zoomed out and you press the peak hold, then basically the loudest peak, it's just going to stay shown in orange. And it won't move unless you go to a higher peak. It'll start going up. If you want to reset that, you just hold to reset it, and then it resets, and that function will turn off. Next thing is the word clock. So I definitely use this as my master clock for my system with my Apollo interface. I use it in master clock mode, which is why it's blinking. There's 3 different modes you can use: internal, external, master clock. I'm not going to go too in-depth to each of the modes, but I use it in master clock mode. If you have one of these units, even like their DA converter, I would recommend using their clock. It's a really good clock. I actually heard I heard a difference in sound quality compared to the Apollo clock. It was a bigger difference than I thought. And then the last thing over to the right is the transformer. So I don't always use this because when it comes to mastering, I want to keep my 80 conversion transparent. You know, that's one of the reasons why I bought this unit. This does add some sort of saturation. It is a transformer, so it will do something to the sound, and it is slightly rolling off the low end and giving a little bit of a top end boost. You can hear it as you start to get to like 12 o'clock and really start to push it. But sometimes it's good to just turn it on, leave it down, and then it sounds good like that. And then it's also good too to just dial it in, see what sounds good. Most of the time I do leave it off though. Just to keep everything sounding transparent as possible. But it is something cool to have on an AD converter. It's something a little different. But yeah, the backside basically just has your two analog inputs, like your two mix options. So one of the things that I am considering doing is basically having my regular master chain go into input one, and then just routing cables from the outputs of my interface going into the second input option. And the reason why I would do that is because I can have one chain for mastering with the Portigo, and then the second input just to straight up just route out of my interface into the Convert 80 plus, and I could even clip it too if I really wanted to, but that could be a second option, just to use it straight up as a clipper, no analog hardware in between that. I am gonna do that. I just need to get more cables, and I don't want to cheap out on the cables, so I'm waiting for that. But like I said, you can really get creative, do multiple mix chains, multiple master chains. It's something cool to have. But keep in mind though, this unit is only a 2-channel AD converter, and for the price of $3,000, I think that's the one thing that people have been debating about, whether it's worth it or not. You know, because you're paying $3,000 for 2 channels of AD conversion. I will say though, it is worth it in my opinion, because when it comes to mastering, you really only need 2 channels anyway. This is a mastering unit, or at least like a unit to print your mixes with. It's a printing unit. You know, I don't think it's really necessary to have more than 2 channels. It's not really an audio interface. You know, it's supposed to be part of your, supposed to be a piece of your system. So, you know, it's supposed to go with a separate DA. You know what I'm saying? And for the price of $3,000, you know, maybe it could have been like $2,500. I think if it was $2,500, then like, you know, that would be a great deal. Still, but you know, for $3,000, it's not the worst. You know, you have options. You have your calibration options, which are nice. And also, I will say, I mentioned too the transformer. I don't use it that much. It's a nice option to have though. But with the digital outs, it has a good amount of digital outs. It has SPDIF, ADAT, AES, and that's pretty much it. And then it obviously has word clock in and out if you want to use it as the master clock, or if you want to clock it to something else. I've been using it as my master clock the whole time, and I think it sounds really good. I really don't have that many complaints about it. If I had to say the things that I like the most about this unit, it's probably the transparency. It's a very transparent converter, which is important for mastering, and also recording vocals too, because you get a clean sound out of it, 100%. That's probably the most important thing. The second thing is the clipping aspect. This thing clips really good. I'm not gonna lie, I get a little carried away with it. I gotta chill out. I gotta start kind of relaxing a little bit with the clipping. But I mean, the thing is that it clips really good. You can get away with clipping like 4 decibels and maybe even more without really hearing any major distortion, which is crazy. It's not only about hearing the distortion, but it's the fact that like it retains most of the dynamics. One of the problems with clipping with digital clippers is that once you start clipping too much, it's not about hearing distortion, but it'll start eating with your dynamic range. It'll start kind of messing with the low end. The low end might not be as punchy. It might start killing transients. With the 80 plus, it takes a lot more pushing into the converter for you to really start hearing the signal break. I will say though, you definitely will hear the dynamics kind of shrink. That's something you will hear, but it's not always a bad thing depending on how the mix was. I will say that. So having the option to clip the converter and get some extra headroom is really nice, because you can get it makes it a little bit easier to get your songs and your mixes or whatever you're working on up to that more commercial level. But you still have to know what you're doing. I definitely had to learn about that as I started using the converter more. Those two things are probably what I like about this unit the most. One thing that I don't really like about the unit is possibly the calibration options. Maybe if there was maybe if there was one more option instead of it being 2 decibels apart, maybe like give 5 different calibration options 1 decibel apart. That might have been nice. And it's probably the only thing though, because like I said, when talking about ins and outputs, it really serves all the purposes that you need it for. And another thing that I didn't even know until I got the unit was that all the digital outs work at the same time. So if you plug, they all go out of the unit at the same time. So you can go out AES, SPDIF, and ADAT all at the same time, going into different digital sources, and you can capture the signal with multiple digital sources at the same time from the same AD, which is pretty cool. I don't know if other ADs do that, but the fact that it has that feature is really nice because I feel like there's a use for that somewhere. I've never had to use that, but I feel like there would be a time when that would come really handy. That's something else I really like about the unit. But the more calibration options maybe like that might have been a good that might have been something good that they could have added. I have a playlist where I basically show the process of mastering a bunch of songs that have been released. I don't know how many videos are in the playlist, but it's starting to build up now. If you guys want to go check that out, there's different genres of music in there too. If you guys have any questions on the unit, definitely comment down below. I'll get back to you guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. Catch you guys next time. Peace out.